Welcome to the Sons of Gunn Podcast. I am your host, Jaylen Blue, aka Gun Boy, or whatever Matt calls me. Today, I am writing solo as we dive into a animated project. As I've mentioned before, Matt isn't like the biggest animation guy, so I'm not going to force him to watch something he's probably not going to enjoy. But for me, I've always loved animated projects and the way they can bring these characters to life. Today, I'm going to discuss my adventures of Superman. But before we get into the specifics of the show, I kind of want to take a step back and talk about animation for a moment. I want to share a bit of my personal journey with the animation and give you like my thoughts on it, and then throw some numbers out to you guys that I think are pretty interesting. For me, DC and animation go way back. Honestly, animation I think is how I was introduced to a lot of these characters in the first place. I'm 27 years old. I was born in 1998. By the time I got old enough to start watching TV, reruns of Batman the animated series, Justice League Unlimited were coming out. Then the Batman, Teen Titans, Batman Brave and the Bold, Static Shock, all those shows started coming out as I'm a kid and I'm watching them every week. And all those reruns that come on all the different channels. And then, Marvel's putting out X-Men, the animated series, X-Men Evolution, Spider-Man, the animated series, Spectacular, Spider-Man Superhero Squad, plenty more. So as a kid, I was completely surrounded by superheroes and animation. I spent roughly about the first 10 to 15 years of my life watching those shows and getting introduced to a lot of these characters through animation, as I imagine like probably a lot of people my age would. Then we get a little older, we started getting like Young Justice. DC started doing its animated movie universe. Then recently we were getting My Adventures of Superman, Batman Caped Crusader, Harley Quinn. And that's why I think like animation has been like one of DC's biggest strengths. And over the past like 15 years, Marvel has like, yes, absolutely dominated the box office, especially during the MCU era. But DC has had animation, and for a while, the CW shows were coming out. And those are doing pretty good as well. Animation has been one of those places where DC consistently knew how to like deliver. And for a lot of fans like myself, it was the gateway to these characters. Cartoons growing up were like huge for me. At the same time, I was watching like all like the superhero shows. I was also watching everything else on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon had to offer, like Ben 10, Star Wars, the Clone Wars. Did some anime stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Avatar: The Last Airbender, other stuff like that. I loved all these shows, but I never like considered myself someone who like watched anime. I never did that. Like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, never watched any of those. It was definitely like some stigma around it, some stereotypes that's for the weird kids. That's where like people who run down the hallways doing the Naruto run, like that's all the weirdos. It's funny because like Avatar: Last Airbender, by the way, I do categorize that as an anime, but American style anime. I think that one and maybe Invincible. You could count Invincible. No, not really. Maybe just Avatar. It's the first American anime, and um, Avatar: Last Airbender. I love that. That's a whole nother tangent. Anyways, somewhere along the way, I thought like some kind of clicked for me over the past 5 years or so. I really started to like appreciate animation on a completely different level. I went from like casually watching like some of these cartoons and rewatched some of them, and I started seeking out other animation type projects like Invincible, and paying attention to a lot more of like the storytelling, the animation, the characters, and like what makes these shows work, and all stuff like that. But over the past 5 years, I really opened my mind to the thought of doing an anime. And I did it. And let me tell you guys, I have not looked back. If you ever thought about getting an anime, or maybe you never even like considered giving it a try, I'm telling you, you guys need to. Holy peak, you are missing out if not. Anime has some of the absolute best storytelling I've ever experienced. And when you combine that with some truly incredible animation and like the moments where you just sit back and think, oh, how is this a cartoon? Because I got there constantly watching some anime. Personally, like I said, it started with Invincible, and then my two buddies, Matt and Tanner, were constantly talking about like different types of anime, and I thought, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna give it a try. So I started Demon Slayer. I finished. I thought, wow, that was actually really sick. It does have like those weird anime moments where like their face gets all cute and all that stuff, but then it really gets like serious, and there's a lot of like, oh, oh my gosh, where you get to lock in. The animation's really good, voice acting's good. It blew me away. I was like, oh wow, this is actually pretty cool. So naturally, I seek out my second one. I looked out. I'm like, oh, I've heard of this one a lot. Heard it's really good. I'm ready for it. Attack on Titan. Guys, right here, this show, Attack on Titan, that changed something in my life. The life of Jaylen. Attack on Titan genuinely changed the way I look at storytelling. That show will change the way your brain chemistry works whenever it comes to showing you how like a story unfolds. I'm so serious, guys. Like this, get past this idea that like this stuff's just a cartoon and it's going to blow your mind. Attack on Titan blew me away, and I can go more from there. I mean, I started getting into Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Hell's Paradise, Free Run, My Hero Academia, Solo Leveling, a few others from here and there. I have laughed, cried, gotten chills, and been like genuinely shocked more times watching these projects than I have than a lot of like live action stuff over the past few years. I could honestly do an entire podcast just probably breaking down Jujutsu Kaisen itself, but I won't. Again, with Avatar, I could probably do this one. Point I'm trying to make is I'm talking about like the growth and investment in anime from a perspective of a guy who 5 years ago thought anime was weird. And I'm sitting here and I'm telling you guys, this is some of the best storytelling I have ever experienced. Don't believe me? Let's look at some numbers and then like some quotes. Start with Demon Slayer. In September 2025, last year, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1 hit theaters. I did see this in movie theaters twice. It was that good. Listen to this. The movie went on to make $793,594,078 worldwide. It broke records almost immediately, becoming the fastest growing anime movie of all time in just 2 weekends. It also became the highest grossing film in Japan and the highest grossing anime in the United States ever. And I can already hear somebody saying, yeah, Jaylen, but that's just animation. Listen to this. 2025, these are movies that Demon Slayer beat: How to Train Your Dragon, F1, Superman, Wicked, Mission Impossible, The Fantastic Four, Captain America: Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Sinners, and plenty more. Right? That's 3 Marvel movies: the DC Superman, How to Train Your Dragon, F1, Sinners. The movie finished number 7 highest grossing movie of 2025, sitting behind Jurassic World. So we talk about the popularity and growth of anime. I think the numbers like that are pretty damn hard to ignore. And remember, this is coming from a medium a lot of people still just consider cartoons. That same year last year, Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze Arc, came out and brought in over $162 million at the box office. Another banger. Saw that in theater. That too brought me to tears. Oh, In the Pools, amazing song. I have a lot of these music on my playlist, guys. A lot of the music comes from the stuff I have a whole playlist just for. It's that good. Let's talk about the reception of both these projects, because I think these numbers are even impressive. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle had a 98 audience score and a 98 critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Chainsaw Man the movie sitting at a 96 critic score and 98 audience score. IMDb, Demon Slayer is 8.4 out of 10. Chainsaw Man sits at 8.3 out of 10. Letterboxd, Chainsaw Man 4.4 out of 5. Demon Slayer 4.1 out of 5. So across the board, the reception for both of these movies have been pretty extremely positive. We're talking about massive box office numbers, huge audience scores, strong critic reviews, and people are like liking these things. Again, just an anime. I think this is important to keep in mind as we get into the My Adventures of Superman, because animation just isn't some small corner of entertainment anymore. These projects are pulling in massive amounts of audiences, making serious money, and getting some of the strongest reactions from fans and critics. Like this is something we can get into, and we can look at this corner as DC and be like, what can we do here to make some money? I think there is a calling here. It's just not the movies. Like if we look into the influence on pop culture, Michael B. Jordan, this guy is like literally openly talked about how much anime has influenced him in his movies. I mean, he's talking about Creed 3 and how that movie even used inspiration from Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, My Hero Academia. NBA players, football players are all getting tattoos and showing them off. Daniel Gafford has Rengoku from Demon Slayer tattooed on his hand, and he talks about how much that means to him, and it's remind him to keep him going in like these difficult emotional times. And if you've watched Demon Slayer and you know that, you're like, oh man, like that's pretty sick. That's cool. Like I know what moment you're talking about. Even airlines are getting into this, guys. Delta partnered with Crunchyroll to bring anime to its flights. Crunchyroll has more than 17 million paid subscribers. Crunchyroll is like the Netflix for animes. Like it's a paid subscription base with just nothing but different animes. And so this is not just some tiny niche audience anymore. Like this is a massive entertainment market. Speaking of like a Netflix type, Netflix also reported anime has become a major part of its global audience. The company reported that more than half of its members watch anime. amounting over to 150 million accounts watch anime, with huge growth over the last several years. It's been ridiculous, guys. We're also seeing anime references in like sports. Last playoffs, I remember the Houston Texans and like the Seahawks. They were constantly using like Jujutsu Kaisen references on their social media, mashing their players up with like Sukuna and Gojo and Itadori. Um, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, like they incorporated how the finale of Attack on Titan influenced them to take down the villains, and they mentioned that. Like I said, guys, this is not like some weird corner of of like the world anymore. Like this is becoming huge and mainstream. It's influencing Hollywood. It's influencing athletes. It's influencing movies, television, marketing, fashion, social media, and the audience is only getting bigger. Let me take it one step forward. When Jujutsu Kaisen eventually brings Gojo versus Sukuna to theaters, I genuinely think it could be a cultural moment. I'm talking like Avengers Endgame level of excitement to see what will happen. Could this movie shatter records? Absolutely. I bet we could eventually see the first $1 billion anime movie. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I wouldn't bet against it. I bet you guys, I'm putting it right now, saying it right now, it could be the first $1 billion movie. It has that much hype. So if you're somebody who hasn't given anime a chance, my advice is simple. Open your mind to it. Get in it now. Reach out to me. I'll give you the perfect like intro into it, and I'll tell you which routes to take, which ones to watch. The way I did. I think the way I did was pretty good. It helped me ease me into it and like allow me to open my mind to these. I really do think we're heading to a point where anime is going to be even bigger part of mainstream entertainment than it already is. And I like I said, like this, we could get in on it. That's my TED talk on anime for the moment, but I could keep going, but I'm not going to because we need to talk about My Adventures of Superman. All that being said, it leads into this when discussing this. One thing I love about DC is that we can have all these like great animated projects while also having now our DCU at the same time and it not be connected. I don't need it all to be connected. I wish Marvel did some more less connected animated shows just to tell some more stories. And this show is definitely like doing this is definitely like a fun way to help introduce the audience to these characters for whenever you want to do them in the movies. Like we can be like, oh yeah, I know who that is. And let's be honest, if you watch anime, I think like a lot of us have been like waiting for a really good superhero anime, like Invincible. Like I said, it's not really anime; it's more of a cartoon, but like something like that, but more anime with like Marvel or DC. Like I think that'd be really, really cool. And that's kind of like what's refreshing about My Adventures of Superman is it kind of gives like that anime-ish, cartoonish vibes. Like you're like, it's American style. It gives us Superman and Superman stories, but it also gives it in like such a refreshing own spin on its kind of way. Like it feels fresh and interesting and not like just like a revamped version of Superman the animated series. In the show, you see like Superman, Lois, Jimmy, and they're like the rest of the world in a little bit more exaggerated, creative, and playful tones, and that you wouldn't really be able to pull off in live action. And I think that is also like one of the beauties of animation is you can take a character we've seen a million times and put like a different spin on them and make it still feel like Superman and still be able to be loose and goosey and be funny and exaggerated. You can't really do that in the movies. And Jack Quaid does such an amazing job as Superman. He captured the kindness, the optimism, and like the heart that defines the character and still brings his own personality to the role. I think his performance makes the version of Clark feel distinct without losing what makes Superman feel special. One of my favorite aspects of the show is the dynamic between our main cast of characters of Jimmy, Clark, Lois, Cara. Their relationships are really the emotional core of the series. The chemistry between them makes the story feel more like enjoyable. Cara in particular is like one of my favorite parts of the show. She brings a ton of personality and energy while also providing like different perspective than like the other characters do. One thing like the twist I loved about Cara was they introduced her as like kind of like this herald of Brainiac. And then when she turns good, she becomes part of the crew. She's that person who's unfamiliar with Earth and its culture, and watching her learn about the world throughout like the series gives her like a truly fun and enjoyable characterization and a new like eyes to bring to like the team. And also like how fun was that to get Cara at the same time we were getting her performances from Millie Alcock. Obviously like box office and all the other issues surrounding the movie aside, Millie I still think was the shining star of it all. She brought a lot of personality to Cara, and I think a lot of us still left it excited for Man of Tomorrow and to see her in more projects. And I think that My Adventures of Superman also really gave us a fun version of the character. The season did feel very more Clark focused, and I really enjoyed seeing that. It was fun to see Jack Quaid's performance as Clark a little bit more explored, and seeing Clark explore his relationship emotionally with Lois, and less like Superman Lois, more Clark and Lois. And honestly, like speaking of romance, like that really worked for me between Clark and Lois and Cara and Jimmy. Both are completely different paths in their relationships, but they both really worked for me. It gave the season like a very nice balance between the superhero side and like the emotional relationships of these characters. Jimmy also remains one of like my favorite characters of the show. Jimmy Flamebird. That always cracks me up. Jimmy Flamebird. I love how much of the humor he brings to the series. He's one of like those characters who keeps like the show lighthearted, without feeling like too much of like a gag or relief. His personality, his reactions, his ridiculous situations he's always getting himself in, adds to like the charm of the show really well. Whenever Jimmy's on screen, it's probably gonna be pretty goofy. One of the really fun aspects of the show is also just how many like villains and supporting characters they managed to introduce in the show. So you get some of the bigger names like Lex Luthor, Parasite, Brainiac. Then you get like some of like the lesser known names, and it's pretty cool to see all these guys sprinkled in here throughout the series. And then like also wider DCU characters like Amanda Waller, putting her apart as Checkmate instead of Argus was interesting. A little DCU world connection there with Peacemaker, creating the Checkmate team at the end. I wonder how intentional that was and doing that for us to get us more used to that. Deathstroke was there. He works as like Lex Luthor's bodyguard, which also Lex Luthor himself. We got a lot more Lex this season, and honestly, it felt fun seeing this Lex Luthor. I felt like seasons 1 through 2 is they were going to give us a different take on him that felt weirder and goofier. I really wasn't as meh on it, but this season really like course corrected that and kind of got me liking this Lex a lot more. He became a lot more Lex Luthor-ish as the story's been progressing. And also, guys, how great was that Cyborg Superman arc? Oh my gosh, that mid-season like finale, that fight with him. Oh, I really really did enjoy what they did with that storyline, along with like the Eradicators there at the end, involving John and Laura. Definitely the biggest driver of the season was the story of that itself. It really adapted the comic really well. And that's like whether it's major Superman villains we're getting or like the obscure deep cuts, the show like brings these versions of characters like we already know, and like makes it a really fun twist on them and almost makes them feel like a little bit more memorable. Like I can look back and like, oh, more Cyborg Superman. Like I think of this. If I'm being completely honest, there are some times when like the suit and character designs feel a little weird and funky to me. I wasn't a huge fan of Superman's suit this season in particular. Like the yellow felt a little off. I understand like what they were going for, just really wasn't for me. I've also noticed in like the series design, there's a lot of like triangles and jagged edges. You start noticing a little everywhere in like the suits, the character designs, and some of like the overall visual choices throughout the series. It's definitely like a part of the show style. I think it could be a little much. I don't want to dog on the design, but it kind of almost feels like lazy as like sharp points. Also, it's obviously just a personal preference, though. I appreciate the show's actually like trying to do its own distinct identity. It's just this one, just not my favorite. It's close to being there. Like if it wasn't up for it, I think it'd be pretty close. The little odd thing about the show is like the release time of it. It aired on like Adult Swim at midnight, and then it would also drop Saturday nights as well at midnight on HBO Max. I just found that like a little weird. It's like why put it on Adult Swim? I don't know like why they chose to do that. I haven't dug into it. Like I don't know why. I never really looked into it. I just always thought that was odd. Why not just like make it an HBO Max release Tuesday nights 8 p.m. and it gets everyone talking about it and something we can talk about throughout a week, right? I mean, I just told you all the numbers of animated stuff and how there's people that watch it and it's a market out there for it. Why are we releasing this at midnight? Why is it on Adult Swim and not just like an HBO Max? I don't know. Again, I don't know. Maybe there's a reason behind it I'm like not aware of, but outside looking in, it's just really weird. So kind of my closing thoughts here. I think season 3 has easily been like the best season of the 3 seasons. 1 and 2 were good. I enjoyed them, but season 3 really felt like it really stepped it up a notch. It's the season that actually got me a little more excited for this universe. I did not, like I said, did not watch it as it came out. 2 seasons later, I did watch it. I thought, oh, that was good. I'll see season 3 whenever it comes out. This came out, but now I'm like more excited. But okay, I want that next season. It even has me excited for like the world building of the My Adventures of Green Lantern, and hopefully, I'm now hoping we get more spinoffs from it. If DC can continue building this animated universe while allowing like the shows to remain their own thing, I'm like all for it. Season 3 definitely won me over, and I'm excited to see what comes next. And I also want to hear from you guys. Like, what did you guys think? Did you guys like it? Am I crazy? Was there stuff I missed? Leave comments, man. I want to hear from you guys. I'd love to get some feedback on that. I think next time you'll hear from me, I'm gonna do an episode covering Caped Crusader next. I've been looking forward to discussing that. I have watched both of those. I'm excited to continue this. Maybe I can get Matt to watch some of these one day, and we can hop on and discuss this. But for now, it'll be probably just me next episode. I look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you guys for listening. You guys have a wonderful rest of your afternoon or morning or night, wherever you may be. Follow us on Instagram, or Twitter at the Sons of Gun. Follow us on YouTube. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Love to hear from you guys. Thank you.